I've always liked how much control this game gives you. You shape the landscape with builds. You build your own defenses to protect you against monsters. And when the sun goes down, you just skip the danger with a single click. I just place my bed, I close my eyes. World resets to a safe, predictable morning. It's the most comforting mechanic in the game, but in this world, sleeping is the catalyst. Every single time I close my eyes to skip the night, a random roll of reality fractures. I spawned in and everything seemed normal. It was a beautiful landscape, and the first thing I did was punch a tree, as every road starts. And then I went and made some tools and killed some sheep for wool to skip the night, and I built a little hut to keep me safe. And as night fell, I made my bed and went to sleep. I opened the door and all the flowers were gone, and in their place, growing directly out of the grass, are sea lanterns. The world isn't dark anymore, it's glowing. How is this even possible? It's incredibly peaceful, honestly, but how can this happen? Isn't this a Minecraft world? I started the day by getting some sheep and cows into a livestock pen, and getting some stone for mining later on before I go fight the Ender Dragon. As I watched the sun set, I wondered, is living in this Minecraft world worth it? When the sun had fully set, I went to sleep, and wondered what weird glitch will happen tomorrow. By night 2, survival requires a bit of adaptation. I woke up today needing some wood so I can go to the mines later. So I walked over to the nearest forest and I tried mining the tree. Hold on, why isn't my axe working? I stared at the trunk for a second, completely confused. The logs have completely turned to stone. The leaves are still up there, floating in the air and rustling in the wind. But the trunks are 100% solid rock. I can't even chop them down without a pickaxe now. The sheer absurdity made me laugh to myself. I'm losing my mind, bit by bit. But the forest was only the beginning of the morning's distortions. When I wandered back to the pen, I froze. The world hadn't just changed its materials. It was losing grip on reality. Inside the pen, where my sheep and cows lived, they were upside down. They were wandering in the grass while being dragged on the ground. They somehow balanced perfectly on their heads. Why was this happening? How can this happen? I stood there for a long time watching them. It was a sobering reminder that gravity still held me on Earth. I could only imagine what was waiting for me in the mines. On day 3, the surface had become corrupted. The grass became dead. The water all drained out. My sheep and cows were dead. All that was left of them was raw beef and raw mutton. The surface had become too unpredictable, forcing me down into the deep veins of the earth. Down here, hundreds of meters of solid stone. The silence felt heavier, pressing against my ears like deep water. I lit a torch and stepped deeper into the dark. Iron veins practically lined the walls one after another. It was almost too easy. By the time I set down my furnace to smelt it all, a full stack weighed down my inventory, but the deeper I went, the heavier the air felt. When I went further into the cave, I saw a hole, and with my water bucket, I jumped down and I clutched the fall. And then I looked up, and it was pitch black, even with my torch. But even so, I wanted to find diamonds before I got to beat the Ender Dragon. As I walked into the cave, it was a lush cave. I could actually see the ground. There was even a mine shaft, and just to my left, a vein of 8 diamonds shimmering in my torchlight. Every strike of my pickaxe echoed through the walls within the cave. When I was done mining the diamonds, I headed to the mine shaft, but as I went there, I was stopped by a horde of zombies, and one snuck up behind me and hit me towards the horde of zombies, damaging me even more. And when I got out of the horde of zombies, I was low on HP, and I had to mine into the wall and block it up so I could regenerate my HP. I had no food, so I placed my crafting table, furnace, and my bed. As I watched my steak get cooked, I thought about how tired I was. And when my steak finished cooking and ate it, and then went to bed. On day 4, I woke up feeling great, and I picked up my bed, crafting table, and the furnace. And then I mined the 2 blocks I placed to block me up and headed to the mine shaft. And I actually made it, and I walked into the mine shaft. I went from hallway to hallway to hallway, but I found no minecart chest. And after about 7 minutes of wandering through the corridors of the mine shaft, I found 2 minecart chests in the same hall, each containing 5 diamonds. One of them even had a golden apple and some bread. And then I saw in the distance another vein of diamonds. It was a 4 vein of diamonds. I walked over to the diamonds and mined them, but then I heard cave spiders running at me at full speed. 2 of them bit me, low on HP. I ran to the left and I got some blocks out of my inventory, wood to be specific, and in between the faces I placed them, and I placed down my crafting table, and I quickly forged diamond armor, hoping it would protect me from whatever reality breaking glitch came next, to a larger part of the cave for lava. And as I headed over there, I heard skeletons. Then I ran to the lava and made another portal and went in. On the other side was a fortress right in front of me, and a bastion behind me. The first thing I did was go to the fortress, so I could get blaze rods. But on the way, skeletons were coming from left and right, and there was a spawner right in front of me. Blazes. There. So I killed them. As I waited for more to spawn, I thought to myself, I am ready to get out of here. But I killed enough blazes for me to get 7 blaze rods, and I headed to the bastion. When I got to the bastion, I immediately mined the gold blocks for trading with the piglins. But me mining the gold blocks angered them, sending them towards me. But I was ready. I trapped them in a hole so I could trade for ender pearls. So I waited for about 10 minutes before getting over to the stack of ender pearls. So, with my ender pearls and blaze rods, I made Eyes of Ender and went back to my portal. And when I got back, but then I headed back to the surface so I could get out of this cursed world. And once I got up, I threw an Eye of Ender and pointed in some direction. I ran after it, collecting back and running to the stronghold. After about 30 minutes, the Eyes of Ender pointed down, and I knew this was it. I started to mine down as fast as I could, and I dropped in the stronghold, and I started to wander around and wondering to myself, what is the fastest way to find the portal room? But upon thinking that, I actually stumbled across it, so I ran to the portal, putting the Eyes of Ender in the end portal. When I jumped into the portal, I immediately spawned on an obsidian platform, and I ran to the main end island. And I saw it, the Ender Dragon, the final boss. So I immediately jumped into action using my water bucket to climb up the obsidian pillars to explode the crystals. I exploded crystal after crystal after crystal until I exploded them all, and just in time for the dragon to perch. I was critically hitting it over and over, and eventually the dragon exploded into pink beams of light. and I saw the end portal, and I jumped through the portal thinking to myself, and that this is the end of the cursed world. Or at least, that's what I thought. If you enjoyed this storytelling style, please leave a like and subscribe. We are pushing for 300 subs, and every single one of you helps out a ton. See you in the next one. Bye bye.